Does repeated antibiotic use alter your microbiome irreparably? So once you start using antibiotics for, say, an infection, does your gut flora ever come back, and what long-term health consequences could, what health consequences could come out of that?
Yeah, so antibiotic use has been studied pretty carefully, and the answer is twofold. So if you've ever used antibiotics, especially sort of extensively in childhood, there are certain components in the microbiome that don't come back pretty consistently across individuals. We can, with some pretty high degree of accuracy, tell if someone has taken antibiotics before. But a lot of what's there responds quickly and comes back. So, are these few missing things really important? We don't really know yet. A lot of them aren't very well characterized. So there may be some irreparable damage, it may be that every time you take them, your set point changes a little bit from where it was before, and over time that there might be a biomedically relevant change. So I think most of us think that this repeated use of antibiotics probably does have some irreparable damage, but amazingly, the microbiome, the GI tract microbiome is more resilient than you might think. A lot of the components come back. So it's a little complicated again, but I think it's a little bit of both.
So I want to jump in and take the last question, because I've read, and I'm surprised no one's brought this up yet, but that we share more of our microbiome with our pets than we might with other humans.
So yeah, great question. There have been some interesting studies in households, both of cohabiting humans and of humans with animals. And the animals are definitely a source of microbes, and we are a source for them. And this ties in really nicely, actually, with the hygine hypothesis. Rates of asthma and other sort of autoimmune type issues are systematically, if you look sort of epidemiologically across populations, lower amongst people who grew up on a farm, who had exposure to more animals. And there's some evidence, maybe even just a few animals in the household might have an effect, but certainly the farm animals do. And so, yes, a lot of the microbes aren't specific to a human host. There have been some pretty funny stories about households where one of the humans is more similar to the dog than to the husband. I think our ancestors lived in an environment, in a world where they interacted with not just animals, plants, diverse exposures compared to what most of us get. We just sort of sit at our desk and maybe interact with a few people and an animal or two. So I think when we think about it that way, of course it's not surprising that we share with our dogs, and it's probably more natural to have even more sharing amongst people and amongst animals than we do right now.
I think on that note, go and diversify your microbiome. Kiss your dog.